Hi, my name is Emily Barker, and I'm the Executive Director for Reuse Minnesota. I'm excited to talk to you about how to host a building material collection event. I'm going to speak to you specifically about an event I helped host with the City of St. Louis Park in 2019. A little bit about the background and goals of the event. The City of St. Louis Park has a long commitment to sustainability, including all of the city's solid waste programs. In 2019, the recycling program was 35 years old. There was a growing organics program, and new and exciting reuse programming was coming on all the time. And as we got talking, we wanted to think about how we could expand that and really help residents see other opportunities for reuse. So we thought about building materials and the big impact they have. And so we created an event where we collect usable building materials and also raise awareness about options other than landfilling for many building items. We started with a number of partnerships. The first one was Hennepin County, and I approached Hennepin County staff about the idea of this event, and they were really great with helping with the scope. I was all excited to invite the entire county, and they helped me think about how it might be better to start with a smaller event. I was very glad for that. They also were willing to help with promotion and having some staff at the event itself. We then reached out to some nonprofit partners that would actually do the collection at the events and take the materials that were brought in by residents. We worked with Better Futures Minnesota and Twin Cities Habitat for Humanity Restore, and they were both excellent partners throughout the process. Finally, I reached out to 3 of our neighboring cities, the cities of Edina, Hopkins, and Golden Valley, to help with promotion and see if they would be interested in inviting their residents. And they were all very excited about that opportunity. And we didn't ask for much contribution in terms of planning, but we did ask that they help with promotion and staffing at the event, which they all did. In terms of logistics, we ended up doing a 2-day event with 4 hours total. We did this because we wanted to ensure that everyone would have an opportunity to attend. They couldn't go on a Saturday. We wanted to offer a weekday evening. So we did a Friday evening and a Saturday morning, and it worked out really well. We collected usable materials that could be sold by our nonprofit partners, and we determined beforehand which organization would take each category of materials. So we wanted to make sure that everything had a home before we got there, and also to share the value of the materials. So each organization had items that they actually could sell and that would generate a benefit for their organizations. Our partner organizations staffed box trucks that they brought along to the event, and our volunteers accepted smaller items. This picture shows one of the staff members from the city of Golden Valley and one of our city recycling champions who helped collect things like hardware and plumbing fixtures and light fixtures that were smaller, and if they were accepted and not something that our partners could use, they wouldn't be difficult to dispose the way that something like a bathroom vanity or a set of cabinets would be. So we had our partners handle those larger materials so they could vet them up front. We also had a dumpster at the end of the event for unaccepted items, things like hollow core doors, in case people brought those, even though we shared early on that they wouldn't be accepted. And we did charge a fee for that. And finally, we did tracking, mostly for where people were from, but also to try to gain some information about what type of materials they were bringing. This is a list of all the things that we accepted and the stuff that we did not. I'm not going to read it all, but you can get an idea for the flavor of what we were looking for. Usable materials in good condition, some exceptions like no shiny brass light fixtures, because at the time there was no market for things like that. We did accept tools, which was really great to add into this, complementary to the actual building materials. And then we didn't accept anything that was hazardous, where we might have to pay to dispose of things, electronics, garbage, anything like that. For promotion, our main promotion was a postcard that Hennepin County actually printed and sent for us, and we really appreciate that partnership. They sent about 10,000 postcards, and they used a radius from the location of the event and sent it out to households to just get the word out to as many people as possible. The percentages you see here are how people told us they came to the event, how they heard about it. So as you can see, 40% of participants showed up because of the postcard. So it was really important for our event. We also did city newsletters, social media, and email. And I believe our local paper also published it as well. So we know that all these different ways brought in a lot of people, but that postcard really helped. This is the back side of the postcard, which again provided a detailed list of everything that we accepted. We included that because we have found that it's really beneficial in our regular city cleanup events to have everything right there. So as people are loading their cars, they can have it as a reference. So this proved really beneficial in this case too, because we had very few items that came that weren't accepted. We also provided some guidelines and the location and who the partners were that would be taking the materials. Here's a few pictures of our event. You can see our partners and some of our volunteers taking different materials from folks. For results, we had 136 vehicles, which was something that we were really happy with. For our first time event, we thought this was really great. Some people came around a couple of times because they had enough and they knew the line was moving fast. They were excited to bring more materials. Just over half those folks were from the city of St. Louis Park, which makes sense because we were hosting, it was here in our city, and that's where a majority of those postcards had gone to. But about a quarter were from the city of Edina and 10% each from Hopkins and Golden Valley. We filled 4 large box trucks at the event. This type of material is difficult to weigh and determine how much we actually collected, so we decided to use the volume of the trucks. So we are very happy with that amount. Our partners really were happy with what they ended up with. And then of course, we raised a lot of awareness, both during the event and before and after. People who couldn't come reached out and asked if there were places they could take materials after the event or at other times throughout the year, which was really our goal, to get people thinking about that question. We even had a few conversations that happened at the event itself, where people were connecting with our partners saying they're a contractor and they would love to bring more materials in the future. So those connections were great. A few takeaways and lessons. First of all, on tracking, we would consider a few changes in this. It was great to collect where people were from, but we tried to get too detailed in what people brought. We wanted them to put the number of doors or things like that, and it really didn't end up being useful data. I think in the future, it would be great to have just people check what types of materials, so then you knew 50% of people brought doors, 20% brought vanities, and it gives you an idea of what the interest might be. We would definitely have grown it in size. Unfortunately, the next year was COVID, and so that was not an option. And we had our event timed a week before our city cleanup, which was not necessarily the best choice because we ended up having some people show up thinking it was the cleanup. And so they had a whole vehicle full of materials that we didn't accept. And we had done that thinking that it would be useful for people getting rid of the usable things first and then bringing the non-usable things the following week for our event. And it just ended up being kind of confusing. The other thing about timing is we might consider things like a spring event to catch people who are doing spring clean out of their garage or a basement and getting those materials instead of seeing them all go in a dumpster. But we did a fall event, which was great because it captured materials from projects people had done that year. And instead of disposing them, they could bring them to us. So there's opportunities for all sorts of different things around timing. And finally, with disposal, we would definitely just skip the dumpster at the end. Well, it didn't cost us anything to have that dumpster there because it was delivered early for our cleanup. It really just didn't get a lot of use, which was great because that meant people followed what we were hoping they would. We had just a couple of items that people even used. And we did charge $5 minimum for people to use that. And again, it just didn't end up getting very much use. So I think instead of dealing with the hassle of that, we would just have two people take things home if they brought things we didn't want. Finally, in terms of relevance to other goals, this definitely has relevance to the Metropolitan Solid Waste Management Policy Plan, which notes the importance of looking at non-MSW trash materials. So looking at things outside of the regular dumpsters, the regular garbage cans and recycling, and how we can look at managing more of those materials, not just having them in the landfill. And then also working with cities to adopt ordinances that require waste plans and for taking down buildings. And while this event doesn't necessarily have anything to do with the ordinance, it again encourages people to think about the alternatives to just disposal. And of course, any cities or counties with climate adaptation or action plans, building materials have a huge climate impact. There's a lot of carbon in lumber and other materials, and a single building can have a lot of benefit And so we think that this is a really great opportunity for government to prioritize in as a way to encourage climate adaptation and action. With that, I thank you for your attention. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to be a resource, and best of luck with your projects.